What's up, cozy gamers? Today I'm bringing you a special spooky Halloween video that I have been so excited to make. Why? Because despite what you may think about me, what with me being a cozy gamer and all, I'm actually a huge fan of horror. So this year for Halloween, I was thinking about what kind of video I could make, and I decided to make this one. A list of horror games that I think potentially could be approachable for cozy gamers, for people who are looking to dip their toes into the horror genre. I don't want to go the cheap route, which would be to recommend games like Luigi's Mansion or insert life sims here that has witches and vampires and stuff, because although those games are good, and yes, I definitely recommend them as a cozy gamer, for this particular video, I want to showcase some actual spooky, dark, scary games. So, what's my criteria for this list? The games on this list are not typical horror games in that they're not super graphic or bloody or difficult. These games don't really require any ammo conservation or item conservation. The puzzles aren't overly difficult, and even if they do depict violence and blood, they do so in a hyper stylized way. These games are not super realistic. They're not going to make you feel sick from watching them or playing them. In addition, some of these games, while still horror centric, are included because they're dark, solemn, or suspenseful. And to make this video a little bit more interesting, I'm going to be listing these titles from least scary or most approachable to what I think may be pushing it for some of you. So if you guys are in the Halloween spirit or have been thinking about trying some spooky games, hopefully this list is for you. So let's get started. First up is the shortest game in our list, Egg Friend. If you're a 90s kid like me, you had or at least knew someone who had a Tamagotchi. They were everywhere. A little digital pet in the palm of your hands that required you to feed it, clean its poop, and generally take care of it. But what if your cute digipet wasn't as innocent as they appeared? Well, you don't have to wonder if you try out Egg Friend. You can play it on browser by clicking the link in my description box. It takes about 10 minutes to beat, and there are 2 endings, so have fun. Next up is Penko Park, available on Steam and the Nintendo Switch. Essentially, this is a creepy Pokemon Snap, an on-rail photography game full of creepy and unsettling creatures that may or may not want to eat you. This game isn't by any means scary, but it's the atmosphere that makes it seem haunted and perfect for the Halloween season. The Switch port is the complete version with extra creatures and secrets to find, so that may be the way to go if you want to try this one out. I think a lot of cozy gamers already know this next one, but it has to be included, and that is Cult of the Lamb. This game somehow mixes life sims mechanics, dungeon crawling, and horror so well. Again, this is not a game that will scare you, but there's evil satanic magic, ritualistic sacrifices, resurrection, cannibalism, and more, so it's pretty dang dark. This game isn't the longest, and it does have a full stop ending, but the journey is worth the trek. I loved recruiting cute animal villagers into my cult just to have them get married, tend to my farm, and oh yeah, give their life to our god. Cult of the Lamb is available on all platforms. The next games on the list tell a dark, twisted, Tim Burton-esque version of Alice in Wonderland. Darker, in fact, than the actual Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movies, and those are American McGee's Alice and its sequel, Alice Madness Returns, both on PC. These games come with some warnings though. 1. These games are dark and deal with some heavy topics such as murder, child abuse, and SA. 2. The first of these games is quite difficult, half on purpose and half because it's an older, kinda janky game. However, having said that, if you like Alice and want to see a really twisted spin on it, these are the games for you. They aren't necessarily scary, but a lot of those familiar characters you know and love from Alice in Wonderland are hideously portrayed in these games, and spoiler alert, meet gruesome ends. What I love most about these games though is the story. As dark and serious as it can get, it pulls you in and spans both games. On top of that, the environments are interesting, more colorful in the sequel, and the weapons are cool and weird as heck. There's a literal pepper grinder turret gun and teapot cannon. It's insane. The next two games in our list are for the anime visual novel crowd, the first being Danganronpa, which is a series I have a lot of bias towards because I became a Twitch partner through streaming the entire series. If you haven't heard of this long and popular series, they are visual novel games in which a group of students, each with their own special talents, are trapped in a death game that requires them to commit murders without getting caught. Each chapter sets up a new murder case, and it's your job to find clues, interrogate your classmates, and present the evidence in an epic court-style battle. This series involves a lot of gruesome deaths, but it makes them slightly less horrific by replacing all the red blood with hot pink blood. Honestly, this series is very over the top and silly, so a lot of the horror is handled in a very tongue-in-cheek way. But despite that, there's a lot of heart and wittiness to it all. The writing is so smart. This game is best played completely unspoiled, so I don't want to say too much. The story is twist after twist after twist, and will have you shook, crying, screaming, and more. There are 4 games in the series, as well as a canonical companion anime series, so be sure to check them out if you haven't already on most platforms. Our other anime visual novel is Doki Doki Literature Club. This one comes with a lot of trigger warnings. Despite its outwardly cute and colorful presentation, this game throws a lot of heavy dialogue and visuals at you as you get further and further along. One particular scene of a character unaliving themselves comes to mind. However, I don't want to spoil too much because if you can handle darker material like that, the game is best experienced unspoiled. This game is unlike any other visual novel I've ever played. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I played it for the first time. Join your school's literature club, enjoy your school days while developing relationships with your beautiful classmates, and maybe even discover true love. Or perhaps something much, much more sinister. Doki Doki is available on PC. The next two on our list are created by the same studio and have similar yet different aesthetics and vibes. The first of which being Fran Bow, a story of a young girl who finds herself in an asylum after the mysterious murder of her parents. Journey through worlds and dimensions that may or may not be all in Fran's head. Joined by your talking cat companion and an enigmatic skeleton named Itward, you'll solve puzzles, talk to ghosts, and discover the truth of what happened that fateful night. Fran Bow is a treat, but a bit of a sour one. It's dark, depressing, and very difficult to interpret, because even when you get to the end, the game doesn't spell everything out for you. You may walk away with more questions than answers. Check it out for yourself on all platforms. The successor of Fran Bow is titled Little Misfortune. While the gameplay is sort of similar, Little Misfortune is way lighter when it comes to spooks and depictions of gruesome acts. Little Misfortune tells the story of a little girl from an abusive home who sets out on a journey to find eternal happiness for her mother. However, according to Mr. Voice, a disembodied voice that also acts as the narrator of this storybook-esque tale, today is the day Misfortune will die. Despite the dark setup, the game is extremely funny and tongue-in-cheek, and Misfortune herself is super quotable.
I'm a little princess, you know.
Throw in everything else like a mysterious and handsome fox who has a mission of his own, missing children, a drug cartel made up of hamsters, and a town in which all adults hide their faces with happy masks, and you'll be sure to want to see this game through to the end. This is another game I have a lot of bias towards, as it's one of my favorite indie games of the last 5 years, and the true ending makes me cry every time without fail. It truly is a masterpiece and a must-play game in my opinion, and it's also available on all platforms. Our next game, Inside, is a simple and eerie adventure which starts with the nameless boy on the run. But what is he running from? And what is he running towards? Through this journey, you will find yourself going deeper and deeper, both literally and metaphorically, as you come across strange experiments being done on animals and humans alike. Though this game is short, it does have 2 endings. How will you shape this young boy's fate? Try it out and see for yourself. Inside is available on all platforms. The next group of games are part of the same series, and it's a series I believe is relatively well known, Little Nightmares. This series has you playing different children traversing a world full of gigantic, monstrous creatures who want nothing more than to hurt you in any way they can. As you'd expect, you don't have much in the way of defending yourself, but that doesn't mean you can't use your wits to solve some light puzzles, giving you the upper hand or at least a way forward. When I played the first game, I never expected the story to expand into what it is now, and that's saying something. It's chilling with a lot of twists that will make you question your own morality as the player character. This game is not particularly graphic or violent though. Its horror comes mostly from the helplessness you'll feel being stuck in this impossibly large world in which you have little means to defend yourself. Run, run, and run some more. Check out the Little Nightmare series on all platforms. I was a little unsure of where to place this next one on the list. Overall, Among the Sleep is not a scary game. In fact, this might be one of the more somber titles once you get to the end. But it does have a fair share of jump scares, both audio and visual, so some might put it higher in a horror game list just for that. Having said that, Among the Sleep has you playing as a literal 2-year-old child who, alongside his teddy bear, is startled in the middle of the night by strange noises and ventures out to seek comfort. That doesn't sound too scary, right? Well, let's just say that a big, dark house looks a lot bigger and darker to a child, especially one with a vivid imagination. Because this game is first person, you really will feel like you're seeing the world from the perspective of a child who is scared, vulnerable, and alone. Find out where those noises are coming from before it's too late. The next series of games also put you in the first-person driver's seat, and those are the Bendy games. Bendy and the Ink Machine and Bendy and the Dark Revival center around the mysterious happenings of Joey Drew Studio, an animation studio similar to Disney in the early to mid-1900s. Bendy, their most popular character and mascot of the studio, may be hiding many secrets behind that devilish grin, and it's up to you to discover them by revisiting the studio years after its closure. The story in these games is incredible. There are lots of recordings to find to learn more about the fate of the employees who once roamed the halls of the now abandoned studio. You can't help but feel bad for most of them. Out of all the games on the list, this is the most action heavy and the most typically survival horror. But despite that, the game's violent acts are muted in sepia tones. The enemies are cartoon characters come to life. They're made of ink, so no blood. I'm a huge fan of these games and their cel-shaded graphics. In some weird way, I think it's kinda cute. Check them out for yourself on all platforms. And now, the final series in this list, Yomawari. You may be wondering how a 2D game can be the scariest on the list, but trust me, these games are. Despite how cute they seem at first, honestly almost Life Sims-esque in visual style, the games get darker and more unsettling with every step you take. All of the games are set in Japan and as such take a lot of influence from Japanese superstition and mythology. The ghosts are horrific in these games and come with unique jump scares that take up the whole screen. And what makes it worse is that all you can do is run, hide, or get this, close your eyes. The motivation for the characters differ in each game, but you can be sure that curses play a heavy role in the misfortune of these poor girls. Are you up for a night stroll? If so, check Yomawari out across PlayStation, Switch, and PC. And there you have it, 15 plus spooky games that I think are suitable? Doable? Approachable? For some cozy gamers. I can't be the only cozy gamer that likes horror, right? Today's video was a little bit different, but I had such a good time with it, and I hope you guys did too. It was really nice to be able to intertwine some of my other interests with my love of cozy gaming. If you've played any of the games on today's list, or plan on playing any of them, or have more suggestions, please be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you liked today's video and would like more cozy gaming content, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check me out on Twitch where I stream 3 days a week. All my socials will be in the description box below. Until next time, cozy gamers, stay cute.